What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Today we're going to talk a little bit about getting off drugs. So since I put up my NuBane video and my other one, which is basically about the effects, not just the effects of NuBane, about how it affected my life, people are starting to ask me questions, and I'm getting other people that have had addiction issues contacting me and, saying that they've had similar issues. And so I think where we ended off was the NuBane amounts were starting to taper off. It was drying up, so there was nothing we could do at that point. And I had a friend who had a doctor out in New York who would prescribe him large amounts of Oxycontin. And I'm talking about 500 pills of 80 milligrams a piece, and he would mail them to him. So I'm not really sure even where we figured out how to do it, but we learned how to crush these things up, put some water in them, heat them up on a spoon like heroin, and inject these things. And sure enough, the high was amazing. It was 10 times better than NuBane. And every once in a while, a bottle of NuBane would come through, and we'd get it, and it wouldn't work. So the Oxycontin was so strong that it would make the NuBane not be able to work anymore. So now we were stuck with Oxycontins. Now, it wasn't long before that whole thing dried up. The doctor had gotten busted, he got in trouble, so no more Oxycontins. So where are we left to go? We're left to either clean up and get sober, which at the time none of us really thought we had a problem, which is fucking ridiculous, or move on to heroin, and that's exactly what I did. I moved on to heroin. Now, when I first started doing heroin, of course I took risks. I mean, there were risks involved with any of this stuff, but these are more risks because you're dealing with even shadier characters than you were with the steroid scene or the NuBane scene. I mean, there was no honor amongst thieves as far as this stuff went. And I remember I went with my buddy to, like, a friend of a friend of a friend, and hooked us up with this guy. He was a Vietnam vet. We went to his house, and he had all these Percocets. And he was trying to sell us these Percocets. And I was like, you know what, I don't want these, I want heroin. So he just kind of looked at me for a second, because we didn't really know this guy at all. We'd never met him. And I brought my other friend who was, I can't explain, it's hard to explain who my buddy is, but he's a fighter. I mean, he loves to fight. He beats the shit out of people with a smile on his face and just walks away. It's just how he is. So we're in the house. He makes a phone call. And all of a sudden, this biker who's like 6'4" comes rushing through the door, looking at us, and he's looking at the other guy, and he says, "What's the problem? You all right?" And the guy whose house it was says, "Yeah, man, these are my friends right here. They're friends of so-and-so. They want some bags." So he looks at us, and he goes, "Bags, huh?" Kind of looking at us. Now, my other friend, he's tattooed all the way up to his knuckles on his neck and his face. So this biker kind of looked at him right away and was like, okay, I got a little bit of respect for this kid. He tattooed his face. So he goes, "I'm just going to go out to the car and tell my girlfriend to shut it off because I thought I was going to have to stab or kill someone, then we'd have to make a quick getaway." Okay, this is the first time we're buying heroin. The first fucking time, and this is already happening. People are getting killed, right? So we wind up getting the heroin and building up this relationship with this dealer. You guys hear that snorting noise? That's Bruno down there. He just got done eating. And we build up this relationship with this dealer. And over time, it's not really a friendship, but it's more of a kind of almost like a mentoring thing. He was older than us. He'd been to prison. He'd been to jail. And he knew that we shouldn't be fucking with this stuff. And he shouldn't be selling it to us. And he actually felt bad after a while. And actually, he stopped selling it to us. That's how we, wound about getting clean. And when he stopped selling it to us, that's when the reality really hit. Okay, because now it was like you can't get any drugs. You're pretty much almost out of money. Now, the whole time I'm on heroin and NuBane and Oxycontin, I'm working. I'm still working jobs. I'm still going to the gym. I'm training. I'm consistent on my diet. I'm still eating. And I'm still competing in bodybuilding. I'm still on stage competing even though I'm on heroin. So when you think of a heroin addict, you think of somebody who's like in the gutter, homeless, living on someone's couch, something like that. That was couldn't be further from the truth the way we were. We were all still eating, had places to live. We were functioning drug addicts is what it was. And it was at that point where, this guy had decided he wasn't going to sell to us anymore. I had to figure out what to do. Because at this point, it's like you're just sick and you're trying to find Vicodins or whatever the fuck you can find just to get through day to day. If you've ever seen that movie, Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, it's like that. Every day is the same thing. You get up, you try not to be sick until you go to sleep, and you hope you can sleep and get enough dopamine to sleep so you can wake up the next morning and do it all again. So now I'm working at clubs as a bouncer. I'm working at, a strip club. I'm working at a regular club. And, I mean, those are the only types of jobs you can keep because you're so fucked up that, who's going to hire this fucking person who's acting so weird all the time and, sick half the time and calling in late because they're sick because you just had to get your dope before you can go into work. And at that point, I decided enough was enough. Like, the money was dwindling down in the bank accounts. It was Groundhog Day every day. And I just couldn't take it anymore. Mentally, I was exhausted. I had hit a bottom and couldn't figure out why I was doing this to myself. And then it clicked. I think there's a reason why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to be an asshole. I'm not doing it to get fucked up and have a good time because it's not a good time anymore. So why am I doing it? I'm doing it to be well. Why am I sitting? Why do I need to be well? Because something in my head wasn't working right. And that's when everything just clicked. And that's what they call rock bottom. When you have a realization that something's not right and it needs to change. So you either die or you get well. That's how it works. And I remember going to my mom, and she had known of a place. Our family had history of chemical dependency and different people in it. And we went to this one place, and they were like, you have to go on a waiting list for a bed here. So it was like an inpatient thing. In the meantime, here's some Clonidine, and Clonidine and something else to keep my blood pressure stable because you can actually get a spike in blood pressure when you start to detox, and it can kill you. So I took the Clonidine and went home. So I'm sitting there going, I got to wait to get better. It's out of pocket you're paying. It's a ridiculous amount of money because I don't have insurance. So now what do? They found the Addiction Recovery Institute in Rhode Island. The Rhode Island Addiction Recovery Institute, ARI. I walked in there, asked to see the doctor, fill out the forms. The whole time people are looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Does he work here? Is he a doctor? Because I was 230 pounds, 220 pounds. My hair was cut. I mean, I was clean shaven and my clothes were nice. I walked in to see the doctor and he says, why are you here? And I told him, I said, I'm on heroin. And he just kind of looked at me for a second. He said, really? Okay. Gave me a blood test, gave me a urine test. It came up positive for morphine metabolites. It came up positive for opiates. And the amount that was in my system, he was like, you need help. No shit, Sherlock, I need help. So I started my first dose of methadone that day. And the methadone is what really got me to stop using the drugs because I wasn't feeling ill anymore. But the important key to the whole thing was I needed to find out why I was doing them. And that's where the counseling comes in. Okay? The counseling's super important because I didn't have the tools to deal with what was going on in my life. And instead of dealing with things, I ran for anything to make that better. So I wouldn't feel pain, I wouldn't feel emotions, I wouldn't feel anxiety, I wouldn't feel all those things. So the problem was there was an underlying problem that predisposed you to self-medicate. And that's how it works. Once you figure out what that problem is, everything else seems to fall in place. That doesn't mean that you're going to get clean and stay clean right away. I mean, I'm one of the lucky few who have gotten clean and never relapsed and never went back to do drugs again that didn't die. So I'm not really the norm. And I'm not sure why yet. Maybe so I could make videos like this and you guys can learn stuff from them. I don't know why, but bottom line was that was it. I had had enough, had an epiphany, looked in the mirror and said, it's got to change. And from that moment forward, as soon as I took that first dose of methadone, completely different. Never touched it again and my life changed. It was going like this for a long time. All of a sudden the methadone happened and it started to go back like this. So be aware, if you have fucked up, if you have taken these drugs, if you are on them now, you don't have to die. You don't have to continue. You don't have to have a shitty life. You don't have to wind up like one of those people in the gutter with nothing, just waiting to die during your Groundhog Days. You can pull yourself out of it, but you have to pull yourself out of it. Nobody's going to help you. I can't help you. Your parents can't help you. Nobody can. You need to man up, pony up, knuckle up, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Put on your big girl panties and get well. BioStraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below. www.biostreettraining.com is the blog, and we're out.